Welcome, my good people, my fellow adventurers, to the fourth episode of D&Debates. I, Jake, will be the moderator, and my good debaters here will be the debaters. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Scott. This is the third episode.
Corey here.
Yeah, that's right.
On episode 3.
I was just getting ahead of myself.
It's also Amanda here, reminding you this is technically episode 3.
But it is the fourth one we've recorded, so hey, you know what?
Yeah,
you know what, Jake? Jake, you're not entirely wrong. You're okay, Jake.
Yeah, it's episode number 3, but it's the fourth episode. If you see what I'm saying. Anyway,
we just index starting at 0. It's just like a
because that's something we did. For this episode will be on bards. We all love bards. Well, actually, no, some of us don't. But there you go. There'll be 3 questions. The first 2 of which have been given to the debaters in advance, and they will have 2 minutes at the beginning to give their opening statement, and then there will just be around 5 or 7 minutes of just random chaos. And the third question will be, they have not seen in advance, so they'll have to kind of improvise their answer. I'll be giving first, second, third for each round, 10 points for first, 7 for second, and 5 for third. Also, in the spirit of bards, I'll be giving bonus points for things said that are especially charismatic or entertaining. Perhaps that is a good joke, a good insult. Maybe you just break into song in the middle of your arguments. That's pretty much it. I am ready to ask the first question. Are my debaters ready as well?
I am set.
Let's do this, Jake.
Good.
Yep.
First, just for preparation, I'm going to roll the dice to answer the first question first, just so you have warning. Okay, Corey, you're going to be answering the first question first.
Delightful.
Okay. Remember, they have seen this question in advance, so hopefully their questions make sense, but maybe they won't, but who knows. Let's say that a group of friends decided to start a new campaign after a very fulfilling Ranger-only campaign. This time, however, they're going to try to make a more balanced party composition. And one of the players decides to be a bard. The campaign will start at level 3. What bard build should they choose, and why is it the best? Senor Corey.
Okay, so when formulating a balanced party, it's important to keep in mind the role and responsibility that your character plays in that party. When creating a bard, it is important to keep in mind the responsibilities that a bard has in an adventuring party, and I will use this quote from the Player's Handbook to help explain what I mean. Whether scholar, skald, or scoundrel, a bard weaves magic through words and music to inspire allies, demoralize foes, and manipulate minds. Thus, bards have 3 main responsibilities: inspiring allies, demoralizing foes, and manipulating mind. And I have chosen the build of a Lightfoot Halfling College of Eloquence bard because of its enhanced representation of these 3 pinnacles of bardsmanship. The College of Eloquence enhances Bardic Inspiration, the core ability of the bard class, with unfailing inspiration and infectious inspiration. Also, the significance of a halfling is a naturally thematic inspiration, Jake, that comes along with a halfling character, although not tangibly mechanic, is a great trait that can give a party internal inspiration by seeing their small companion with the bravest heart. Jake, I know you're a big Middle-earth fan, and let's be honest, the Fellowship was nothing without the courage of hobbits. They were inspired and never ceased to gain morale for their halfling brothers. When it comes to demoralizing foes, the eloquence unsettling words is a great feature that hinders enemies' saving throws with inspiration dice, and the eloquence of silver tongue then satisfies the bard's ability to manipulate minds. In fact, with jack of all trades and expertise, it is possible to create an eloquence bard that can roll no less than a 20 on any persuasion or deception check, which is a must-have for the face of your party. Lastly, I'd like to add another responsibility as a bit of a combination of all 3 previous responsibilities, and that is the ability for bards to get their party out of sticky situations. In making said eloquence bard a Lightfoot halfling, they will have halfling luck, which is a perfect representation of getting free from sticky situations, or at least preventing them from happening in the first place. In summation, a good bard is a well-balanced party, inspires allies, demoralizes foes, manipulates minds, and gets others out of sticky situations. And I believe that the Lightfoot Halfling College of Eloquence Bard I present to you all today fulfills everything a bard can and should be. Thank you.
Awesome. Only a few seconds left. Thank you very much, Corey, with your Halfling College of Eloquence Bard. I shall let the gods decide who is next. It is going to be Scott next. Scott, the same question to you. What is your third level bard build, and why is it the best?
You know, you've presented a particular challenge to us, Jake, in telling us that this bardy is already well-balanced, because the role of a bard is to be the well-balanced party. Bards are good enough at everything in D&D, one of their abilities is literally called Jack of all trades, that they exist at their best when there is a strong lack of balance, because they can cover every base except damage, and even then you can find bards with extra attack and fireball. I thus posit that in a balanced party, a bard has to find a new role. And that new role, I say, is never making sure that no one ever fails what they are good at. I have also chosen the Eloquence Bard. Unfailing Inspiration makes it so that a use of a Bardic Inspiration is not expended if the role does not succeed. However, I have dived into spell choices designed to make the party better. We get Hold Person and Hold Monster for advantage in melee crits. We're getting Enhance Ability because as a full caster, we have the ability to cast that whenever we need. Catnap, just in case we need 10-minute short rests. Rary's Telepathic Bond. Lehman's Tiny Hut. Support options. And when we get to combat, we're taking Synaptic Static for fireball level damage and negative D6s to all saves if you fail the initial saving throw for 1 minute. No concentration. Your fellow spellcasters are going to be thanking you. Greater invisibility for rogues. We pick spells that help your balanced party, make sure they never fail. Finally, magical secrets, the bread and butter of the bard. Any spell from any spell list. We're taking Counterspell and Circle of Power at 10th level. Circle of Power gives you the effects of evasion and danger sense for every type of saving throw, not just the dexterity-based saving throws. And even if you have a wizard or sorcerer with Counterspell in the party, it is always great to have a backup Counterspeller, because then you get that great Counterspell chain where the enemy counterspells your Counterspell, but you got it. You have it taken care of. You have it on lock. 14th level, we get Simulacrum, because who can get the money for that better than the charismatic bard? Soul Cage is an adaptable and dope spell. 18th level, we get Death Ward and Wish, because those are the two best end game spells for your final 2 levels, coming right up against the BBEG. My bard build is designed specifically so that all of the people around you who are already good enough to not need a bard will never, ever fail what they are already good at.
Awesome. Exactly 2 minutes. We have 2 College of Eloquence Bards. Let the dice decide.
What race is your thing, real quick? What race is your bard?
Doesn't matter, but I would go custom. I would go probably custom lineage with a feat that gives me an additional charisma increase for the +3 charisma right off the bat. I don't think race matters a lot to this.
Okay, let the gods decide who's next. Oh look, it's Amanda. Amanda.
Hold on. Well, okay.
What is your third level bard, and why is it best?
I think it's very interesting the approach both you guys took. However, I like looked at what is the essence of playing a bard and why people want to play a bard. First of all, yes, bards have the potential to be more than just like the flirty, chaotic, random, fun people. But like, if you wanted to play someone just a flavorful spellcaster, you choose any other spellcasting class to play. You play a bard because it's fun and they're stupid and it's a good time. You play a bard because you want to have fun and you want your party to have fun. Now, with that being said, Scott, I like what you were saying earlier about the kind of role of the bard being this sort of, very much the jack of many trades. However, instead of using that as like a support role to support others, I think the bard is much better to fill out all those niche little things that everyone else who sort of min-maxes kind of forgets about, which is why I went with a half-elf College of Creation bard. Now, starting with the race, I was considering variant human to like optimize something or to take like a random ass fun feat, but that's kind of a cop-out. I think taking a feat for this is dumb. So instead I'm like, okay, what is a good bard race? And then I'm like, you know what, half-elf, because we got that +2 to charisma, +2 to anything else, that variety and diversity. At the same time, You get like the Fey ancestry, so the not being able to be charmed or put to sleep is pretty thematic. Also, half elves are sexy. Good bards should be sexy. Now, I like the idea of College of Creation because it still ties into the general music and artsy sort of aesthetics of the bard, as well as kind of filling in all these niche roles. I love performance of creation. So often, even at low levels, you always need more rope. You're always missing something, and that's when the bard can come in clutch. It is a unique ability that is so unlike anything else. I think later on, I think dancing item, the dancing item through animated performance is also very, very cool and fun. It's very neat. It comes in clutch. Also, it doesn't just rely on bardic inspiration like College of Eloquence does. It's better and it's more fun and thematic. I think that's my time.
Yeah, that is your time.
Okay.
Well, you had 2 seconds actually when you said that,
Oh.
so you missed me. You missed a couple of words. But thank you for the opening statements, all very enlightening. Now we shall start with some chaos. Go.
All right.
I have a bone to pick
putting
with College of
halfling
Eloquence.
luck. Putting halfling luck on a bard is one of the most pointless things I've ever heard of, because they don't make rolls. They don't make rolls. They make skill check rolls occasionally. And first off, you can't critical miss on a skill check roll if you're playing by the rules, so there's no difference. And then second off, all of their spells are save based. I understand halflings are cool and fun and stuff, but it just seems like you mentioned it as though it was this great support option. It only benefits yourself and probably you once every 3 months playing this bard.
Wow, I disagree.
Can I real quick?
Based on what? Based on what?
Before we get into halfling things, I do want to address College of Eloquence a little more because it does feel like the most bardy sort of bard. But all it really does is it just builds upon, it's just like extra bardic inspiration stuff. And considering how little unique abilities bards already have, you gotta spice it up a little more. It just doesn't add any flavor. Where's the spice? Where's the essence that the bards need to have that unique flavor?
Bard. The spice is being able to speak every single language at 6th level, for one thing. And then the spice is also in having those awesome spells on the side, like Hypnotic Patterns, Synaptic Static, Simulacra. All of the spices in the spells. That's nothing new about
What
spells.
does
What
creation do that for a bard that Eloquence doesn't?
Or
at least, as far as the bard goes.
So, as far as the bard goes, it does still you get motive potential at 3rd level when you take the subclass, which does already enhance your bardic inspiration. It covers that. It's great you have that. You don't need a whole lot more bardic inspiration stuff. It's great to build on that, but you have it. That's the thing that all bards will have. Please spice it up. Performance of creation. I keep going back to this. It is such a cool thing. It is the definition of, hey, niche little moments. Oh shit, we forgot this tiny thing. It was so insignificant. The bard is there. It happens so often. I play all the time when those little things are forgotten about, and it's just some item or something will come in clutch. It's
I agree with that, but I also think building for spells taking care of those niches is a lot more of a solid path. Also, I'd like to address the Bardic Inspiration thing. Yes, there are good uses of Bardic Inspiration from College of Eloquence. I don't even really care about subtracting it from saving throws, though. The thing is, it's never wasted with College of Eloquence. Literally, if it fails, you get it back. That is the biggest buff that College of Eloquence gives. Because I've played in parties with bards before. You have that Bardic Inspiration, you got advantage, and you still miss. But the bard gets back his Bardic Inspiration. It's built around that principle of completely unfailing.
I will say this about going back to my halfling choice, Scott. I will read you what it says for Lucky. When you roll a 1 on the d20 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can reroll the die unless using your roll. So it does apply to more than just attack rolls, and I think that goes a long way with a bard who will be rolling a lot.
That wasn't my point. I know that it applies to all of the rolls. I'm just saying that, I mean, if you are critical missing as a bard, that's not on a skill check. The critical miss, there's no critical fumble or anything for that. You're not missing a lot. You're guaranteed to at least get around a 10 once you're a pretty sizable level bard, as long as you're making a skill check that you should be making a skill check for. And I would argue you're not making attack rolls. You're maybe making a couple of saves. I have not seen a lot of spellcasters single out the bard and be like, that's the guy that I want to target in this fight, rather than the wizard or the fighter. I think it's a waste of an ability.
I mean, I think that depends on the DM and the campaign itself. Like, as far as the circumstances and the situations that you're put in and the roles that you're making, I feel like all differ. And with saving throws, it doesn't always have to be like a enemy, you know, targeting you for something. I mean, it's very versatile, like a bard should be. And, you know, maybe in battle, lucky isn't like, you know, oh, we need this feat for this build to be the best, but it is just overall very, I think, thematically and mechanically good for like social encounters and ability checks and stuff like that.
It's anti-synergistic with the social encounters because you already have a feature in your build that makes it so that you roll a minimum of a 9 or a 10.
But it doesn't. What if it's not a persuasion or deception check? There are like countless other skills that you could be rolling for.
There's one other skill that you could be rolling for in a social situation.
What is it?
So
intimidation. Why are you trying to intimidate somebody as a bard?
This is great. So
the face of the party. I don't know.
We've touched upon the mechanics of bards, particularly around bardic inspiration and things like halfling lucky. How does that play into it? We've touched a bit upon the dynamics. You know, the bard's role in the party as this sort of weird kind of support / jack of all trades sort of deal. But y'all talked a whole lot about the aesthetics, the feel and the vibes. Bards at their core are meant to be flirty and fun, almost colorful. And by the way, aesthetics does not just refer to visuals. Aesthetics refers to the overall feel, the game juice of this thing. And it just, eloquence, yes, it is very much like the bardiest bard, but it's just, again, building on what's the base thing. It doesn't add anything new or the flavor. It does require a lot of the player to fill that in versus creation. It just, the almost quirkiness to it of the, hey, my thing is I get to make random items just in a pinch. I'm going to animate a random piece of furniture because that's fun and that's cool. The manifestations of the moat of potential are so much fun, and it adds to the overall feel. It doesn't just add to the mechanics of the bard, it adds to the aesthetics as well, which is a very important part when looking at the game.
I agree that it takes it in a different direction aesthetically, but I think you're undervaluing how much aesthetic is already in the bard. This is somebody who spellcasts by strumming on a goddamn lute in the background of a battle while their friends are fighting with swords and wands. You already have that aesthetic there, and it can be achieved more functionally with something like the reliable talent-esque ability for deception and persuasion that College of Eloquence has. I agree that College of Creation is a very cool subclass, and you can have lots of cool ideas in it, like being a grand poet or like making like a chess master kind of vibe. I don't think that it enhances the bard's aesthetic. I think it changes it in a different direction. And
so I was prepping this.
End of the
I read it. Eloquence is boring. I read it. I'm like, this is boring. That's all I got to say. Okay.
You can now each make your closing statements. That was the end of the chaos round. Anyone can go first.
All right, I'll go first. Where are we? Here we are. Look, eloquence enhances the aspects of a bard that makes bards special. Unique additions to a party, and it's a bardier bard that fits perfectly into any balanced party that needs an inspiring, wise wordsmith. Making them a halfling just adds a whimsical, courageous, and wholesome flavor that complements bardsmanship in such a satisfying way. And I also will say that it's the best build. That's all I have to say.
Amanda, would you like to go?
Sure. I would just say that when it comes to bards, they're not supposed to be thought a whole lot into. They are meant to be the fun, kind of random, just enjoyable, getting colorful thing to play. College of Creation adds to the sort of niche fulfillment that you can get when you come in clutch in those little moments. It's not always about being optimized. That's not what a bard is for. Also, half elves, like I said, are sexier, way sexier than halflings, and way sexier than just generic whatever Scott you're going with.
Lander.
Well, that's a bit.
Halfling slander.
McGroom and McGuffin will have a few things to
Half-elves
say.
have like the rugged earthiness of humans mixed with like the grace and poise of elves. It's like you can't deny it. You know I'm right. And that's what a bard at its core is really about. You just want to play the flirty, hot, charismatic, just fun character.
Scott, closing statements.
Closing statements. I'm the only one who touched on spells. This is a full caster class. I have laid out all of the spells that you need for this. Navigating the Bard's spell list is one of the most difficult parts of playing the Bard. And I think that especially navigating magical secrets, there are lots of good choices and there are lots of trap choices when you have everything in the game. I think my build is superior by virtue of it has the actual details of what will make your character good spells.
You chose the spells before you didn't even have a race. You chose the spells and you're like, whatever race, that's so much more a part of the build. You can't just do that.
No.
It's a full caster.
You're optimizing mechanics.
Spells are more important.
Maybe I want to play a dwarf bard. His build.
If you played a mountain dwarf bard, you would get +2 to 2 different skills. I'd recommend personally dexterity and charisma so that you can get a higher initiative bonus. Lay down those clutch spells at the beginning. You get the mountain dwarf medium armor thing. Perfectly fine. Perfectly serviceable.
That's optimizing mechanics. That's all I'm saying, and it's only 1/3 of it.
Yeah. Okay. That's good debate. Let's move to the second question. I shall let the gods yet again decide. Of course, Corey, you went first last time, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, Scott, you're going to be going first for this question. The question is this. Bards only have a handful of unique spells, and the spell list sometimes falls under scrutiny of being underwhelming. What would you change about the Bard spell list if you could? What is missing from a Bard's magical arsenal? Or maybe you just don't think that any changes should be made.
I love the Bard spell list. I think it has one of the strongest identities of any spell list, which is very important. All of the choices fit thematically and play into a support/control based party role. It's the worst damage dealing spell list, and I think that's appropriate. Here's the thing. If you find something you want that's not on the Bard spell list, take it with magical secrets. The Bard spell list for the purposes of 10th, 14th, and 18th level is every spell list in the game. That said, I do not think it goes far enough simply because it avoids some crowd pleasers that are not damage dealing spells. And I think including those crowd pleasers, which all have kind of a awesome clutch bard energy to them, will help fix the problems. Third level, spells, haste and counterspell. You have slow, so haste is thematically consistent and a great support option. Counterspell, honestly, counterspell seems like more of a bard than a warlock, sorcerer, or wizard spell to me. It's a middle finger spell, which is so bard. I also think Speak with Dead would be cool because it's not on many charisma casters. Fourth level, add Banishment to the list. Again, a fuck you spell that doesn't do any damage, so Bard. Autoluke's Resilient Sphere. Fifth level, add Wall of Force. Sixth level is legitimately underwhelming for Bards, which is a contrast to most other classes, so we'll just add some WoW effects with Contingency, Flesh to Stone, and Soul Cage. From there, it is good exactly as it is. I think the design choice in the Bard spell list are thematically consistent and mechanically excellent. We just need some of those flashier spells like Haste and Counterspell to fix the PR problem. Thus, a shit ton of non-damaging spells that you can stick both fingers up at the bad guy and the DM, which is why you are casting as a Bard.
Yep. Thank you for that wise argument. I shall let the dice decide. Oh wait, Amanda went last time, so it's only fair if Amanda goes second this time. So Amanda, same question to you. Opinions on the spell list.
Okay. Well, I honestly think I agree with some things Scott said. I think that some things like the WoW factors are missing, some of those classic ones. Like off the bat, I agree. Things like Counterspell and Banishment for sure. But as sort of a different approach to it, I think I disagree in that, you know, all the spells are very fitting and thematic, because I think there's one thing I missed with the spell list, and there's just a little too much like druidy, ranger, nature-y stuff that didn't feel quite right for bards, who do feel very much more arcane, almost more like the wizard, or even warlocks versus the kind of nature-y stuff. So I just kind of went through cutting out a handful of things. I like animal friendship, speak with animals, animal messenger, locate animals or plants, speak with plants. What else did I cut out of here? Oh man. Also find the path at like 6th level. It's just things that make them feel more like what makes this was it felt a lot like you just took a bunch of things from all the other casters and put them into here, weeding out the very kind of nature-y exploration ones that don't have to be bard spells. I think can really make them more thematic, make it more like these are a very kind of arcane based supporters, you know, still have the jack of many trades approach where it's like a lot of different things in different areas, but without just being like oh yeah, let's take it's a bit of a druid, it's a bit of this, it's a bit of a wizard, but also a bit of sorcerer maybe. It just gives it a little more identity rather than being kind of clear that they're just taking from all the other spell lists and putting into one. Because like you said, bards don't have that many unique spells, and by just giving them very obviously like not very thematic spells only adds to that. Yeah, but I agree there's just a couple things to add like that could be good. Scott kind of covered those, but yeah, my biggest point is give them less nature stuff. They don't need it. They're not very useful or common spells anyways.
It was time.
And okay.
Thank you. And last but probably not least,
Thank
Corey.
you, Jake. Thank you.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Same question to you. Opinions on the spell list.
So, I think the Bard spell list is in dire need of no changes whatsoever. It is fine just the way it is. It's just the right height, no bucket required, and let me tell you why. Bards are characteristically masters of none. Being a jack of all trades is literally a part of Bard mechanics, and rather than considering a spell list underwhelming, I believe it is best to view Bard spells as true to the Bard class itself. Bards are much, much more than just spellcasters. Bards are Renaissance characters, well-rounded and skilled with the multiple facets of D&D in ways that no other spellcasters are. It makes sense for the Bard to have the least amount of unique spells, all 4 of which, Vicious Mockery, Dissonant Whispers, Compulsion, Power Word, Heal, are all quite good in their own right, because a Bard, while less abound with spells than a Wizard, for example, has proficiencies like light armor, certain weapons and features like Bardic Inspiration, or Jack of all trades that warrant a balance. The D&D gods giveth, and they taketh away. Not to mention that all bards, and I mean every single one, gets the opportunity to choose spells from other classes with magical secrets at level 10. So although the bard spell list may seem underwhelming compared to primary casters, that is only because those who compare the two do not see the forest for the trees. That's all.
Very wise words. We shall now be starting Chaos. Go.
Amanda,
Yeah.
for someone who talked so much about thematic last debate, you're getting rid of all of the spells that make you a Disney princess? You're singing to the animals. You're singing to the animals to make them do what you want. That's the huge trope of like going out into the woods and you have the Orpheus type like leaning back against a rock and sadly strumming the harp and all of the animals gather around. I think that it's more fun to play these nature spells as a bard than it is as a druid or a ranger.
I don't know how I feel about that. Just knowing how, when it plays out, how useless those spells tend to be. And furthermore, like, because then you, as a bard, like, you take those spells and then you're stuck with them and you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna be a Disney princess. And you take those spells and you're like, wow, cool, guess this rabbit in the wood just reaffirmed stuff we could have figured out with a skill check. Awesome. It's just, and it takes away it. I don't think it contributes to the, you know, jack of many trades sort of ideal. And that just makes it a kind of vague mush of like, yeah, do what you want. Here are a bunch of options, including ones that you'll probably regret taking. I see your point, but I disagree. I think there's other ways to play up that sort of Disney princess thing without needing the spell for it. It's called animal handling, and just if you also like sing to animals as a player in-game roleplay wise, your DM will probably give it to you because it's cool enough to just roll with it story wise. You don't need a spell for that.
But
And
Amanda,
I think it's less cool. I think it's because then you're doing like the ranger thing. You're like, speaking of stepping on the tails of like rangers and druids, you're like offering a hand and like letting the creature come and sniff. That's different than just strumming your lute and they flock to you. I'd add more animal spells in there. I'd add like flock of familiars, things like that. Find familiar. That seems like a good bard spell for me, and it's a crime that it's a wizard exclusive. Which
Wouldn't it be funnier to have a bard try to communicate with an animal and then the animal will be like, you're a gross human, and then run away? It's funnier. It's not the best way to.
that can still, Amanda, that can still happen with a bard, even if you don't take those spells away, because like, just because those spells are on the bard spell list doesn't mean that they have to take them. I think by cutting out those spells that you're planning on cutting out, you're just kind of like almost like gatekeeping flavor, like from a bard. Like if someone's playing a bard and they just like want to be an animal lover as part of their character, by taking those spells out, you're taking that opportunity away. And also by keeping the spells in, there's like no real harm, because any bard that doesn't want to have that archetype can just take different spells. And what if a party, Amanda, doesn't have a druid or ranger, and those spells could come in handy in the campaign that they're playing? Then you just have to waste your magical secret on those instead of other spells that may, also be important. Like,
exactly. It's great that bards have this weird mishmash of spells, because they're made, like I was saying, to fill in whatever roles you don't have. If you have a party of all fighters and one bard, that bard can do the work of everything that's not a fighter.
Wait, well, Corey, Oh, sorry. If you want to go, go argue against Corey. Go argue against Corey. Go do that. I'm not going to interrupt. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that.
Give it to me.
I do take a little bit of issue with the idea of not changing the spell list at all, simply because I agree it's a very strong spell list. However, I like bards enough that I want them to be popular, and I want them to be really appealing. And it's of my opinion that their spell casting should be emphasized, because it's charisma based, and the more you increase your spell casting, the more you get that flavor out of the bard. If you're just looking for like amping up skill checks and stuff, that's just mediocre stat boosts to your mediocre skills so that you can be like jack of all trades at everything. It's cool, it's fine. However, if you're amping up the spells and the charisma, you're getting more flavor out of that. So I want more crowd-pleasing spells to attract more people to playing the bard.
When I have helped, like, especially new players build characters, I've never seen anyone go straight to the spell list and be like, I'm going to play a bard because I like their spells. The point of the bard always comes from the idea of funny, sexy music, man. That is 90% of the time, that's where you get the bard, like the desire to play a bard from. Spells are so secondary to people's decisions in choosing a bard. And yes, I think it's great to have this more kind of fun, crowd-pleasing spells in there, but not for that reason.
And I love new players. New players are fun. They can choose the bard for whatever the reason they want. But I also want the bard to be more popular for experienced veterans who have like an idea of, ooh, here's how I'm going to make the bard different. Here's how I'm going to make the bard unique to my game. Because there are too many experienced players who will just write off the bard because they're tired of the stereotypes and they think that the spell selection sucks. And so you end up with party after party after party with no bards in it. And that's a crime. We need more bards. And that's why I'm doing a necessary PR job for them.
But if you emphasize the bard spell list too much, then it feels like you're kind of bringing them towards being more of just like primarily a spellcaster, which I don't think a bard, like you said in the first question, like they should fill whatever role they need to within a balanced party. And if the spells are too emphasized, then they're just going to kind of be pigeonholed into being a spellcaster. And I don't think that's kind of the vibe a bard should be. And also, if you're adding all of these like crowd-pleasing spells that people want to take as a bard, then aren't you kind of taking away the usefulness of magical secrets so you're kind of just like rendering that feature of a bard obsolete? It just doesn't feel, right.
I'm adding some crowd-pleasing spells, and the difference is I'm adding spells that fit thematically with the bard and don't do anything to address issues that the bard already has. I am leaving weakness gaps in the class that are already there. I'm not trying to address those. I am just trying to amp up what makes the bard spell list fun.
That bombshell, the chaos round ends. Closing statements.
I yield my time.
Power move.
I guess all I really want to say with this question is that bards, I believe that bards should not just be spellcasters, and by having their spell list seem underwhelming in comparison to other spellcasters like wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, etc., it only, you know, is because the other facets of a bard that are brought up and made much, you know, stronger in like in relativity with the bard class as a whole, which is why it shouldn't be changed.
Amanda?
All I want to say is, how dare you accuse me of gatekeeping flavor? No, absolutely not. I'm preventing young players from taking just dumb spells and getting just confused. There's so much decision anxiety when it comes to choosing spells, and the fact is, bards don't need to have they don't need to have these very naturey, like very druid ranger spells just to get like, oh, you can be anything. It's like there's you don't have to just like give them anything to have them be this versatile character.
And just for the record books, so you get rid of those nature spells. Were you adding any spells?
I do believe, first of all, give bards wish, you cowards. I did want to add that in. And I think Scott did mention a few that I agree with, things like Counterspell and Banishment primarily. Like, those are very, very bard in my opinion. I think you should have those.
Okay.
Yes, but I was trying to go a different angle. It's like, hey, here's my main point.
Yeah, there you go. Cool potatoes. All potatoes. Now round 3. This question was not given to them before, but it's basically this. So I've never played a bard. Never really appealed to me, you know. When I want spells, I look, oh, wizards, they're cool. Sorcerers, they're cool. When I want to smash things, paladins and barbarians, they're pretty cool. But I ask you this, my good friends, why should I ever play a bard? What can it offer me that the other classes cannot? And you could speak, you don't have to apply this to me personally, just like someone in my shoes. But Amanda, you haven't gone first yet. You can have like 5 or 10 seconds to think. But you will be going first.
I can go first if Amanda doesn't want to.
No,
do you go first place?
I can go first. I don't. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Why not? Jake, I'm gonna put it towards you because you framed it as it's about why should you play a bard. You're a man of chaos. You love chaos. I think as your player and also as your DM, I know. And at its core, bards are meant to be just for chaotic players. They're not necessarily a chaotic class, but that is how I've seen in the past so many players just channel their energy when they get to this fun fantasy world. Almost like just so often they go for the bard because that is just the essence in fantasy as a genre as well, of the just go for it, balls to the wall, like do whatever sort of character. And that's when you can play. It's more fun. It's not just about destroying everything, but destroying the social constructs in the game. Jake, already we just have one session of my game, which you have derailed in so many ways. Imagine having a character where that derailing is justified because it is built into their personality and mechanics, right? You have, as a bard, you have the right to say all the weird shit, flirt with everyone, don't run campaigns in those ways. It is just, if you want to have more fun, go play a bard. You no longer have to stick to just destroying things in combat and asking for a deck of many things at 3rd level as a 12-year-old gnome. It's just the chaos and the fun and the randomness and the taking social risk is embedded in a bard. It is the essence of a bard, and I think it's perfect for you.
Do a bard start with a deck of many things?
You know what? We'll talk about it.
Should I multicast a bard for the deck of many things?
Yes, Jake, they do. They definitely do. Yes, totally.
Okay.
If we get you to play a bug, then yeah.
It's tempting. Corey, I believe you haven't gone the second yet, so you'll be second whenever you're ready.
I will take it. Jake, let me ask you a question. You ever painted? You ever painted, Jake?
Stickman.
Stickman. Well, that's perfect actually, because what a bard offers is a stickman for you to apply all sorts of colors and clothes and skills and abilities that will basically what I'm trying to say here, Jake, is that a bard is a blank canvas because of the versatility built into the class of being a bard. With a bard, you can be whatever you want to be. Okay, with that stick man that you have, you can be a swashbuckler. Okay, you can be a little bit of a flirtatious go-getter. Okay, you can be a nice little spellcaster if you want to. You can be. The point is, okay, Jake, you can be whatever you've dreamed of. You can take whatever character idea you've had in your head and apply it to the bard in such a way that it can be fulfilled. That your wildest dreams that you've had for that D&D character you've just not been able to quite put together can be exacted with choosing a bard. Okay, a bard, and this applies to anyone, even if you haven't painted a stick man. I mean, look, it's just with a bard you can play any character you want, any character you've dreamed of playing, and that's why you should think about picking one up for your next character.
I don't know what that was, but
that argument was a stick man.
Okay. Thirdly, thrisely, Scott, whenever you're ready.
All right, Amanda, you're gonna hate this. Jake, I'm going to make a personal recommendation to you that is entirely based on mechanics, but also addressed to everybody who does not particularly find themselves interested in the bard. The things that Amanda and Corey have mentioned already appeal to people who are interested in the bard. For people like yourself who are more mechanics and optimization and damage and stuff oriented, I would recommend a bard, because a bard with their magical secrets feature, particularly a lore bard, is the only one who can get paladin unique spells on a full caster, so that you can do those hella cool destructive waves and circle of powers over and over and over again. And I recommend that you look for other class unique spells, specifically on rangers, paladins, and artificers, because those are all half casters where it takes a lot more energy, and thus the spell power is valued above its actual level. And you can just seek those out, and then you have this weird, unique character where you're throwing around all kinds of combinations of spells that you weren't initially looking to do. I think that the others made some great thematic points. I think this is the only argument that's going to appeal to you as someone who is not particularly interested in the bard, because you're more interested in a paladin or a barbarian.
Awesome. And that closes the opening statements. You guys are now welcome to start shouting at each other.
I'll say this right off the bat. If Jake wanted to play a paladin or barbarian, he wouldn't want to play a bard. And that wouldn't make him being interested in a bard because, Scott, what you offer Jake is something he can already achieve with something that's different. Okay, bards and paladins are not stickmen. Okay, bards and paladins are pre-painted coloring book pages that gosh, this metaphor.
Yeah, you know how shitty it is making a coloring book and the pages are already colored in. That's pretty
disagree
shitty.
with 2 points that you're making. 3 if we count the stick man.
How dare you?
The first
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? I am the moderator, but how dare you?
The first argument of yours that I disagree with is that my argument is weakened by the fact that he would rather play a barbarian or a paladin. That was inherent to the question. I'm giving him a reason to play a bard as someone who would rather play a barbarian or a paladin. And second, you are doing something new, because it's a fundamentally different structure playing with full caster spell slots, getting those 5th level spells by the time you're 9th level, than it is having to wait until 17th level as a paladin to get those awesome 5th level paladin spells. It changes the gameplay.
Scott, you said like that our arguments didn't really address Jake specifically. I disagree. Jake, you've played a Goliath named Tiny Duncan, who had a delightful southern accent and rode a horse named Donkey. Or no, it's fucking named Donkey named Donuts. God, my brain is out of it today. Sorry.
Wait, Tiny Duncan riding donut. That's right.
Ah, beautiful. That there is nothing more bard than that. That seems, it's great, you know, for any other class in one shot, but if you're playing in a campaign, the only way to pull off shenanigans like that is to play a bard, because that is the norm for bards, is to just go wacky and chaotic. Jake, I know you love chaos. You've said it so many times in this episode. It is the essence of the campaign you run. It is the essence of every character I've seen you played. And in bards, it is, especially socially, it is known and it is accepted that a bard will be chaotic. And wouldn't you like just a break from having to, justify it, or to, suck up to your DM to try to make it fit in the world or something? Just let go, play a bard, and embrace the quirkiness.
I think it's clear that Jake never tries to justify it, and that he can inject whatever class with the...
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to justify it then?
I don't think
justify it. I think it makes sense that a 12-year-old wants to destroy the world, but that's not the point.
I think I'd be way less discontent as a DM if he was also a bit of a bard and had the kind of just I would be expecting it,
Okay,
Amanda,
I'm moderator. I won't express my opinion.
Amanda,
okay, well I know I'm losing. What's up?
I think you're.
Look, I'm trying my best.
You're doing great. Although I think your argument for bards being a conduit of chaos really only appeals to that one facet, whereas bards can be so much more and so much different.
But is Jake that much different?
But this question concerns Jake and others. Jake et al. Okay.
Vadim wasn't a chaos maniac.
Exactly, Vadim. Bards can be so many different things, and that's why it's appealing, because if you have an idea for a character that you want to play but you don't know how they would fit into any specific class or race, if you go with a bard, you're gonna have the ability to kind of explore those different lanes. You're like a wild card in Uno, but in D&D with a character class. I mean, that's...
Corey, you know what listening to this argument makes me think of? It makes me think of when you're writing an essay about Hamlet and you really don't have any interpretation of Hamlet, so you start just kind of listing things about it. This is a very important play. This is a play that was written by William Shakespeare. This is a play that's been performed over and over again, even to this very day. There's not a lot of content that you're putting in your argument here. It's mostly, you're painting 2 broad strokes, and I don't see how it really applies to any individual.
Your broad strokes are the arms. Look, it's not simple. It's just conceptual, okay? Because look, these are broad strokes I'm painting, but Jake is giving us a broad range of people to win over, okay? He's casting a wide net, and I'm trying to reel all those fish in with this stick man. And who knows who's thinking about what character they want to play. And if you want something more concrete, then I'll just say, okay, Bard's the face of the party. If you want to be the face of the party, that can be, manifested in many different ways. But you can still play it and make it your own, make it unique. Bard's very unique. It's a good outlet to do that with in playing D&D. And bards are still played to this day.
And I'll throw that there because this wasn't addressed. I also said that when I go down the spellcaster route, I often will go towards wizard or sorcerer. Why is a bard a better choice than that?
Because you have better support options and you can find better damage options. Synaptic Static is one of the best damage dealing spells in the game, but you also get to cast that alongside, and Hypnotic Pattern is a great control spell. You get those as bards. Slow is a great control spell. You get those as bards, but you also get to cast alongside its support options like Healing Word to bring your party up from the brink. Bard is one of the most clutch spellcasters. Maybe your action is not the most impressive action out of any spellcaster, but your reaction and your bonus action, you are getting things off with those.
And here's the thing. I brought this up in the beginning of my first argument, question 1, but you don't play bards to play the best spellcaster. You play bards because the whole class as a whole is fun. That's why you play a bard. And honestly, they're a little simpler, in my opinion, than wizards or sorcerers. You can play a bard and play a bard well because they're not about the mechanic optimization, really. You can play a bard well and have it be fun for you and for the rest of the party. Much simpler. You don't have to dive into the spells and the mechanics of all of it to make it fun.
If you want wizard and sorcerer, sprinkles, then just magical secret some of those spells. Maybe put some expertise in Arcana. Bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a wizardy, sorcerery bard.
Radical. That was the end of the chaos rounds. If any of you have closing statements, now is the time.
Bards also start with a deck of many things. Every bard gets a deck of many things at first level, and
look
you should
to
play
the stick man, Jake. Look to the stick man, and there you will find your destiny.
I actually don't know what to say to that.
I think the people that actually don't want to play the bard are people who are character optimization enthusiasts, and so I think that my address specifically to their concerns that no, you can character optimize with the bard. The bard is a jack of all trades in that you can also choose these really mechanically strong options if you want to do that. The bard can do everything, and any bard can be, and any player can be a bard.
Awesome. That concludes the final of the 3 questions. And now I shall score. Hey, how are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling after that? How are you guys feeling after that?
Absolutely terrible. Not gonna lie, I have yet to play a bard.
I had fun.
I have one bard idea that maybe I'll play. No, I have 2 bard ideas. One's a sea shanty bard. Another one, I want to play a bard named Sten Gwefani, who's just Gwen Stefani. That's the only bard ideas I have, and I don't know how to bring those up into this because they're super dumb.
Sten Gwefani. That's a great fantasy name, Sten Gwefani. I love
It's
name.
She's a high elf bard, from Orange County. She has I don't know. We'll be at some point take the spell like silence and just say like don't speak. I started making a list of
and no that's her character. No, that sounds good.
I was considering swapping out my build for Sten Gwefani, but I'm not sure Jake knows much about classic 90s ska punk and early 2000s pop. So
I will say, Corey, I gave you hella bonus points for the stickman thing. I just found that I found that so funny.
I mean, what more do you want? Like I'm being sincere, genuine.
Right, I'm dealing with a draw here, so I got to figure this out.
Which question?
If I'm in the right,
overall.
Oh.
It's overall. And I've just tied a couple of rounds because maybe. But I'll just go through the rounds and I'll figure out as I go. The first round. I gave first place to Scott. I thought he did a good analysis of the spells, though he did go quite high level, but it was fair. And I just thought he did the best argument of why College Eloquence. Corey and Amanda, I gave both of you 7. Amanda, you did the best one, like Bards, like a role plays perspective, but kind of mechanics wise, you didn't really touch on that much. Or maybe you did. And Corey, your argument just wasn't as in depth as Scott's. And now round 2. I have tied first place. Scott and Amanda. I'm sorry, Corey. I think Scott, you just gave some great examples of what spells should be added, and I think I agree. And Amanda, I think you made an interesting point in removing some nature spells. Yeah, maybe if you focus more what could be added, because I think if you remove all the nature spells, they would be lacking to an extent. But
you got 2 minutes. There's not a whole lot I can do.
yeah, I know. Corey, I don't think you got enough time to really explain your point of view. No one really focused on it much.
Because there's nothing to argue against. That's why. That's what it is.
We both, just by stating our points, we both disagree with your point. So.
But I guess I'll just give the final round overall. So unfortunately, Corey, you were last place, although I gave you 3 bonus points in the last round.
Thank you, Jake.
Wait, that puts him like over second place, right?
I gave lots of bonus points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got 20 points, Corey. Not so bad, not so bad.
I'll take 20.
But you did unfortunately come last in actually all of them.
Hey, listen here. I don't know if it's clear in my arguments that I've neither played a bard nor a spellcaster for more than 1 session. So you know what? I am proud of my showing today. We'll come back. I'll train some, and then it'll be what it'll be.
And I'm going to give first place to Scott. Scott just was the most detailed, which I'm sure him playing a bard gave him an advantage in that. But Amanda, you got the most bonus points. You actually tied in points, but I've decided to choose a winner because I don't want to draw.
This is sexist.
I mean,
I'm telling you right now, this is sexist.
No.
Here, folks.
No.
For the record, do I get bonus points if the only bard I've ever played is multi-classed 3 levels bard, 3 levels ranger, and he was a cowboy?
Okay, Scott gets a bonus points. Scott gets a bonus point for that, so there was no draw. I am not upset. But yeah, that was it. Oh, in the final rounds, I also gave that a tie between Amanda and Scott. I think Amanda, your point about chaos was funny. Scott, your point about min-maxing was fair. If I've seen that way, it's fair. I do create some min-maxing characters, that is true. And Corey, I'm not sure what you were talking about, but you actually got the most points for this round because you got so many bonus points.
How did you know?
I have to win one of these.
Yeah,
I really do.
You will.
I was thinking about how nice it would be if we all had one win on the first round, but I got to be
You
fair.
could have been we tied 2. You just chose Scott. You didn't have to.
I think I never got a bonus point for his multi-class idea.
I'm gonna cry after this. I'm gonna hang up this call and I'm gonna cry.
Well, that concludes our episode 3, the Bards. But please feel free to, if you disagree, which I'm sure you might, leave it in the comments.
Who should have
Say
won?
why I should have won.
Oh,
Say
it's
why
the best
I should have
bard
won.
build. Why, what
Yeah.
should you change about the Bard spells, and why does the stick man make perfect sense?
Yes, if you can answer that third
Please
one.
help us understand what I said.
Kudos.
We'd really like to know. There's a metaphor in there somewhere.
But yeah,
I don't know his Twitter handle. When Amanda did this the other week, she knew his Twitter handle. Tweet Corey, find out his Twitter handle last episode, and tweet him about the stick man.
It's
Yeah, let me hear your thoughts. It's at Corey_337. Actually, I'll cut that out so they can go find it and watch another episode. But thank you for listening.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
D&Debates.
and congratulations, Scott. Unlucky other debaters, and especially Amanda. That was unfortunate. But yes, see you next time.